Motherhood in Motion,
the podcast for mothers with ambition. Welcome to Motherhood in Motion. My name is Constanze Munz. I'm the founder of Both And, a Substack newsletter. And together with Anushka, I've been running a research survey on motherhood and ambition in the UAE, one end of last year, one beginning of this year. And now we're kind of adding all of the stories to this survey, and we're trying to make it a bit come more alive for you guys.
And I'm Anushka Kalyanpur-Duluka. I'm the co-host and founder of Nannies and More. Motherhood in Motion is a podcast for mothers navigating the spaces in between roles, identities, seasons, and geographies, between who we are and who we're becoming. We believe that ambition does not disappear after motherhood. If anything, it recalibrates, it clarifies, and when the conditions are right, it builds into something even more purposeful than before. So we will be exploring that on our podcast, and today, we are thrilled to be discussing this topic with Irmak.
Before we bring her in, there is one finding from the research that runs through everything we're going to talk about today, which I think is quite interesting, that 80% of mental load was already primarily on mothers before any crisis. And that's the baseline. And the question we are kind of asking ourselves is, what actually moves that? So where is that challenge? And how is maybe even technology helping us on that? And I think that's why we are bringing Irmak in to kind of use technology as one of the pillars that can help mothers to accelerate and to drive their ambition and their family, everything at once. And so, Irmak, welcome to the podcast, and lovely to have you.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm looking forward to it.
Irmak is the founder of Kids.ai. She's building artificial intelligence tools for children and families, and she had her baby during COVID, another moment of complete infrastructure collapse, another moment where mothers absorbed everything. And despite all of this, you built anyway. That is the frozen but not surrendered finding from our research related to ambition, something that came out of our very recent survey on the impact of this current context in the UAE and the impacts on mothers. So, Irmak, if we were to ask you to describe who you are personally and professionally, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Anushka. I think within the context of this podcast, I will start with, my name is Irmak Atabek. I am a media professional and I'm a mom. Like all of us, right? Being a mom. So, I've been in children's media over 2 decades, designing products for children, thinking of their lives, well-beings, and how to design a better future for them. And within that journey, 6 years ago, I was lucky to be a mom as well. And of course, being a mom changes all your perception to everything. Even though I was doing this work for all those years, whenever you have a child, you look at everything from a very different perspective. So it's been a great journey, and balancing between motherhood and professional career has been a thing for all of us. But I think I don't even define it as a challenge because it's the way it is. It's like, I don't think we have any other option than this. We need to work, we need to be a mom at home and take care of our children, trying to do the best on everything. And life is juggling, and it's whenever you go to a meeting, you put on a different face, and you have to forget what's happening at school, in the house, it's on all these things, and then you are a different character there. And then when you come home, then you deal with tying your kids' shoes and cleaning clothes and everything. It's 2 personalities in one. And I think in my professional career, I'm trying to connect those 2 personalities as much as possible, because back in time, I think I would hide more of my personal life, because as a woman, we need to look strong. We need to portray some certain image on camera. But it's not most of the time the reality. The reality is different. All of us having Instagram profiles and also the real lives, right? So in time, I think recently, I'm trying to connect all these things because I'm also a single mom. It comes with another level of management in life. And I decided to be open with everything. This is my life. This is my professional career. I'm really ambitious with lots of things. And all these things can happen together.
So
I love
to add
that.
to that, yeah, I also love it. But apart, because I love this Instagram versus real life kind of scenario. Um, you are in tech, so I guess your Instagram is live and there is a lot happening. But if we talk about offline, if we talk about off Instagram, how does your week look like? So how are you dealing with your ambition at the same time as being a solo parent, as kind of having your own life? Like, how are you managing this all in your week?
Oh, that's a good question. Now it reveals what's really happening in someone's life, right? My usual day, I wake up at around 7 a.m. and I like to spend the morning with my daughter, prepare the breakfast myself, and like I'm trying to take her to school myself because that's a unique time that we're spending together. My age is in school and now I'm at work. So all my day is full of meetings. Most of the time I'm trying to stop by 6 so that I can spend time with my daughter at least till 8. But of course, it doesn't happen every day. Like lots of work events that I need to attend, at least a couple days a week, I'm out. But whenever I'm home, I always try to spend time with my daughter, play Lego. It's our shared moment. Like we love playing Lego every day. We have at least like 30-40 minutes playing that. Then by the time she sleeps at 8, I'm back to work. And most of the time I work long hours, especially like we're at the it's as a startup, we're at the early stages of a startup, lots of positive things happening, but extreme amount of work. That's why do I have a work-life balance? I don't think I have. Like it's the only time that I'm not working, I'm trying to concentrate on my daughter, spend time with her. And then weekends, mostly like I try to spend time a bit with friends and so on. But there's always an opportunity cost for everything. If you're a single mom and you decide to build a startup, then it means that yes, you need to sacrifice a bit from these other things. But I love my work so much. I really enjoy building Kids.ai and like all these people I'm interacting, all the research I'm reading. So it's really motivating. I don't feel like it's now such a burden dealing all these things. I think life is all about the perspective where you look things from. So yeah, it's the opportunity cost is mostly the personal life. I think like I rarely sit by myself and drink a coffee and just not do anything. It's a rare moment in my life in the last year. But yeah, I can't complain. That's how it is.
I think that's so interesting how you talked about the different personalities. There's this book called Toxic Grit by Amanda Goetz. Um, and she talks about the leading personalities in your life and how I think she names 5 to 7 of them. And she says, whenever you feel like you're letting one down, it's time to have a check in with yourself to see how you can adjust. So I find that really excellent that you are encouraging yourself and everyone around you to say, okay, let's think about which side of that personality are you letting down, and how can we authentically live into all aspects of who we are. Um, that's great. Thank you. And before we dig deeper, could you tell us a little bit more about what Kids AI does? What is your intention with Kids AI?
Then let me take you to the beginning of that story because it's really connected to motherhood as well. 2 years ago, I was in Dubai, and that time I was living in Nairobi full time, and I bought my daughter a toy. It's a plush unicorn toy, and I came home and I was always talking with my daughter about AI and like what it means, how it can go wrong, and so on. Then she asked me like, "What if this toy was an AI toy? Would it say this? Would it say hi to me? Would it do this?" Then it turned into a game because, when we were kids, our toys wouldn't talk back to us. Nowadays, toys talk back, and it's a very different approach to whole imagination and the way and the reality that they experience. So we started this whole game on like with this plush toy. What if this was a toy? And then I realized that for a 6-year-old or 5-year-old, the things that we see as like complicated terminologies or like things we have learned after the age of 30, 35, 40, whatever, for them it's part of their life. Prompt engineering is a terminology that we learned after our 30s, but for our children, it's such a usual thing, like usual terminology that they use. So it really fascinated me, and I really started like trying to teach my daughter more complex terminologies. Like, do you know what Turing test is? Do you know what reinforcement learning is? And it's impressive. It's not about like a specific child having that. It's all these kids have the potential to understand these things when you break down nicely for their age. It's like Einstein says, if you cannot explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand yourself. So how to explain a complex concept to a 6-year-old? That was the passion that made us start with that. Then of course, like it's a really research-backed company approach. Like we are reading lots of research by UN agencies, UNICEF, UNESCO, OECD has lots of research on AI interactions with children. Common Sense Media has, and like it's a really fast-changing world. Like initially, our idea with Kids.ai was, can we come up with a chatbot that kids interact in a right manner, like by defining an AI behavior? But the more we worked on that, we came to a point that should young children interact with chatbots, and what should be the way of interaction? And then you pivot, because it's, first of all, as a parent and as a business person who is developing a product for children, I feel like I need to make sure that I give it to my child confidently to provide it to someone else. So I also observe my daughter's interaction with chatbots and like where it can go, how it can go wrong. So we came to a point that the most important thing is AI literacy, because like as World Economic Forum says that AI literacy is a basic literacy like maths and reading today. Because for all these children to navigate that future, they really need to understand those concepts. They need to understand what agency is like, how it can go wrong, how it learns, and all these things. So with Kids.ai right now, we are building an AI literacy, AI skills platform for children to learn and understand how AI works. Within that, yes, we are also adding some generative AI tools, but we are designing these tools built with children in the center for children to get the best benefit out of that. I mean, there are so many research on generative AI effects on impact on children, not only for children, but for all of us. Use of AI is making all of us lazy. Like we're using our brain less, our neural networks are growing less than it was before. So how can we turn AI into a tool to increase our efficiency, but not take from our brains? Like how can we just go alongside AI instead of like replacing some of the tasks to AI? So that's what we're trying to do with Kids.ai, giving children the best of understanding for them to navigate this AI-driven future.
And I guess also for me, it's always a question about age of children, right? And what do you want for them at which stage in life? I had a very interesting conversation yesterday, because Germany is not known for being very forward in everything technical. In a class of 11-year-olds, they asked the kids to do a PowerPoint presentation, basically. And they said specifically it should be digital. And then there were two children that came with a poster, and they just made their own poster in order to kind of present what they had to present. And whilst, of course, I think for these children it was hard because it was not the job they had to do, I also understand the parents' thought behind of kind of wanting them to also still do something with their hands and not doing everything on their laptop and not being only on screen. So I kind of understand that. And for me, that's always the challenge. Like, when do you start? How do you start? And when does it get too much? When is it enough? Like, where is this balance in order to prepare our children correctly, but still let them be offline for as long as possible as well to play and be creative?
I completely agree. I think like it's especially in the young ages, if like offline activities are the best. It's like because it's life is all about experiencing, but life conditions are different for people. Like some people sometimes you need to do a meeting, you need like couple hours. If you don't have an help, then how can you make your child engage with the most quality content that you can provide while you do that thing? So that's a spectrum of things. It's as a person who is developing a digital product for children, I never suggest making children use digital devices in an excessive way. It's like it should be very limited and it should always be the second choice. If, as a parent, if you can play any game with your child, you do that first. If you don't have the grounds for your child to play outside, or like if parents are not available, if they cannot have a human to human interaction, then from all these other options, what are the options and what are the best options that you can provide to your children? That's my approach. And like when you look at, let's say, Germany, in that sense is a good example because Europe has the lowest rate of digital time for children, right? When we look at the GCC, it's much higher. So these are also coming from like cultural things, life conditions. Let's say in many GCC countries, it's throughout the summer, kids are indoors, so you need to come up with like indoor activities. And days long, at some point, you end up like mostly providing your children with some sort of a content. So looking at all these content, like as a parent, what I do, okay, if I'm gonna give my child some sort of a app or a content for her to consume, I want to be in charge of that. What am I giving to her? What kind of TV shows is she is watching? What time of games she is playing? So I think Duolingo's success is also coming from that. Like when you give Duolingo to your children and like they're learning something, you don't feel guilty. It's like they're learning something. Same for many other apps that teaches maths or like coding, different skills. You feel like, okay, my child is learning skills, because today's kids are also like to consume that. It's a generational thing. It's our parents would oppose to some other things. As parents, we're opposing this way of digital use, but that's the world they're in. Like I think balancing the reality and the sensibilities is very important.
Fantastic. I think you've given us a lot to think about in terms of, children's use of AI. And it's great to have one of the leading experts in this new and emerging space with us on this topic. So, now pivoting from children back to motherhood, but maybe, still thinking about technology. You talked about the risks, you talked about the benefits. Um, Earlier in the episode, Constance mentioned that, we have seen that even prior to this current situation in Dubai, the majority of the mental load is held by mothers. And this current context actually disproportionately impacted mothers, right? 80% of the caregiving went towards moms. So, if we think about how to leverage AI to reduce that, how can we think of and how can we leverage AI to become part of that care infrastructure? As someone who runs a nanny agency, I'm constantly talking about the importance of childcare infrastructure. And we saw from our first survey too that women whose ambition continued to increase after motherhood, they were actually also the same women who were more satisfied with their childcare situation. So thinking about all of those things, how can we leverage AI to reduce the mental load and actually support women and families with this care infrastructure?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can really answer that because the other day I was thinking, um, uh, 15 years back, I guess, like all of a sudden, BlackBerry came into our lives. It changed the way we work. Like it's before that, we would just leave work and didn't have to deal with what else is happening. But then, whenever BlackBerry came in, then we had to look at those emails. When you wake up, you look at those emails. So now this is another level of technology. AI is in our lives. When I look at my daily workload, did it decrease my workload? I don't think it decreased. It increased my efficiency. It increased, but also it increased the ambition because you feel like, okay, I can do so many other things. I mean, the other day I spent around 4 hours connecting all my system through my cloud. I connected to my Notion, to my CRM, to everything, and I'm like, okay, now I have a amazing new workflow. Now, like, it's building all these agents and like creating that by yourself. It's such a cool thing. But at the same time, does it decrease the workload? And like, does it help with the motherhood? I'm not sure how it helps with that. I think the biggest help may be like time to time, hey, ChatGPT, it's really like these diseases happening. What do you think I should do? It's like kind of turning your AI into a mental help. Maybe that's some sort of a help, but also your friends can do that as well. Yeah, I think every technology is just coming up with new edition, and you feel like you need to keep up with more and more things. Then while you also need to keep up with those things, I feel like I need my child to keep up with.
And I know Constanze and I have a lot of thoughts about this, but in the interest of time, we'll save that for maybe a chat over coffee. But, I wanted to pick up on something you said. You said how this technology and how AI is increasing your ambition. I want to delve a little bit more into that. You are someone who has had your baby during COVID, which was the, biggest time of disruption in our lifetimes, right? From the survey Constance and I did, we saw, that motherhood actually increases or clarifies ambition, right? 70% of our respondents said their ambition either stayed the same or increases. Now, in this current survey, where we talk about the impact of the context, we see that many women, I think 36%, said their ambition froze. Frozen is not the same as surrendered. Maybe it's paused, maybe not. But you are someone who, despite the disruption with COVID and now, we can clearly tell how you are leveraging this tech and AI to continue and pursue your passions and what you are ambitious for. So could you tell us a little bit more about your relationship as a mother to ambition, and also how this current disruption has impacted you?
So Anishka, like you said, I just gave birth during COVID. I came back with a 1-month-old baby, and everywhere was in lockdown. And that time, we planned it so well. It's like I'm pregnant, and it's like the next project is ready and everything. And all of a sudden, COVID. You have a baby, and the project is canceled. So like many other things, everybody wants to wait and see. So it was really challenging, but I think like it's that time having a baby and like seeing what's happening all around, I decided to kind of concentrate on my experience as a mom. But it gave a bit of a relief that it's not only you, everyone else is going through a same kind of situation. So initially, I think I took things the way they are, but of course, like by the time passes, things are picking up again, and COVID gave us all lots of time to think and like explore other things. Then I realized that okay, like besides what I'm doing professionally, there are all these other skills that I can add to myself, which then eventually increased my ambition. And having a child, I think it's really interesting in a way that it makes you feel I need to do better for my child. I need to be a better example for my child. Whatever I'm doing, my daughter should be proud of what I'm doing. It's kind of like there are all these like business people, uh, seasoned people and so on. You don't try to prove yourself to them. I don't see myself like trying to prove myself to any of those people, but I feel like I'm trying to prove myself to my child because I want her to say that I'm proud of my mom. She's doing that. And like I want to be that person my child takes as a model. And also it gave me a moral compass. Whatever I'm doing, am I doing wrong? Am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? What would my child think about that? Would she think this as an example? So I really enjoy this being a moral compass. And I think all these challenges just increased my ambition. It didn't freeze. It didn't make me freeze, or like it didn't make me just hide. It just increased my ambition.
And I just want to take one more question on this, because we always take ambition as not like stepping up the ladder, but as being really good at something. And what you just said really shares this, right? You want to be a really good mother. You want to be a really good role model. And in the end, it's not only the job, it's so many other things that you want to be good at. And I think looking at what you're doing and what you're building with your company, I can imagine ambitious mothers, because they want to be really good at things, have a lot of pressure around AI. And the pressure is on several aspects, right? One is, how do I prepare my children the right way for this new world, which I actually don't even know? And the other is, how can I myself kind of upscale myself fast enough to be able to do that, or to even be faster, be more effective? So I feel there's a lot of pressure in the system for ambitious moms. So if there is maybe something, one or two tips that you could think about for these mothers. Yes, we want to be ambitious, but what are the real things we should be focusing on right now from an AI perspective, looking at your children and at yourself?
I think we should focus on understanding these concepts because tools are available, and it's impossible to keep up with all these tools that are coming to the market. The more tools you see, the more Instagram posts you see. Oh, do you know Claude Design can do that? Do you want to take that tutorial? Then in the others, in another social media, there is another one. There is endless tutorials, endless products, and it's impossible to keep up with all these things. I think acknowledging that is the first. But what really matters from both parents and children's point of view is really to understand. Because as human beings, we are at a very interesting time in history that we came up with the artificial form of intelligence. None of these innovations before came up with that kind of a generative value. And this can be seen as a cognitive evolution of human beings. It's more than being a technological advancement. It's a philosophical advancement that we really need to think through. So I think empowering children with that kind of an understanding, talking with them on these subjects in a fun way, is really empowering. So we did a survey with parents and children, and initially we were trying to understand like what is the level of knowledge for children. It's like how much do they know about AI and so on. But what we have seen is parents feel so stressed and overwhelmed because they don't know how to explain even the basic concepts to their children. If you don't understand something, you cannot also control that. So that understanding, I believe, is extremely important, not only for children, but for all of us, to be able to feel that we can navigate and also not to be overwhelmed with all those things. It's like when you start comparing yourself with the other people, everybody is doing something amazing in AI. And the way people portray themselves is like makes you kind of like look at yourself. Am I there? Can I be there? Especially what we see it among women over 40, 45, like, because they have still a long time in the business that they can have, they're at the best time of their career, but also they're juggling with many other things, parenting children, and they also need to keep up with that technology. So I think anything to empower ourselves through knowledge and thinking is the best.
What a lovely answer. Understanding, knowledge, and thinking. I think that would be the good answer for a lot of things in this world. But thanks so much for sharing, because I definitely feel this overwhelm of information, of new tools, of I need to get this plugin ready, and I need to get Claude ready, and I need to get an agent. So I think, and I'm not really understanding, to be very honest. So I think thanks a lot. My child is only 3.5, so I have a little bit of time still, but getting ready for him to ask these kind of questions.
Yeah, I think we're all just waiting for by the time Constance and my children are ready to be spoken to about AI, that Kids.ai will, have their full setup and we'll have all the answers. So thank you for doing the hard work for all of us.
Thank you for having me. It was such a lovely conversation, and I'm looking for more of it over a coffee and whenever we come together. Yeah.
We would love to.
Thank you so much, Irmak. We really, really enjoyed this conversation. This is Anushka and Constance signing off on behalf of Motherhood in Motion podcast. See you next time.
Motherhood in Motion.
The podcast for mothers with ambition.